For the second time in 4 years, the Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions, knocking off the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35, a historic second-half comeback, a second Super Bowl ring for Andy Reid and for Patrick Mahomes, a second Super Bowl MVP for Patrick Mahomes as well. And the Sports on 580 crew is here to break it all down with you. Brendan Dzwierzynski, Jake Lebahn, Dan Lucero, all here with you to wrap up Super Bowl 57 and a Kansas City Chiefs win. We would love for you guys to interact with us. Comment section is open both on the WIBW News Facebook page and on YouTube, Sports on 580 WIBW as well. If you'd like to get your thoughts in on the post-game show. What a night it was. The Chiefs down by double digits at halftime. They come back. Just the second time that has ever happened in the Super Bowl. You may remember the first time it happened all the way back when the Patriots knocked off the Falcons in Super Bowl 51. We had a heroic effort by Patrick Mahomes, a defensive fumble return touchdown by Nick Bolton, nearly two of them in the same game. Great performances by Isaiah Pacheco, Travis Kelce, so many others, and we'll get to all of it over the course of our instant reaction show. But first things first, Dan, I think the fair way to do this would be to allow the lifelong Kansas City Chiefs fan here on the stream, Jake Lebahn, to get a moment to relive and celebrate the second Super Bowl championship of the last 4 years for the Chiefs and the third in the history of the franchise. Jake, take us back to the end of the game when the comeback was completed. The first touchdown to Kadarius Toney, the record-setting punt return, then a soon after touchdown to Sky Moore to put the Chiefs up, and of course, the winning field goal by Harrison Butker in the final moments of the game. Take us back to what that was like as a lifelong Chiefs fan to live through the historic comeback.
You knew you never gave up hope with 15, and they needed to do things better in the second half, and they did. If you look at it, the first half, I kept telling myself, the first half, so many things went wrong for the Chiefs. So many things went wrong. And then in the second half, Andy Reid, if you got the best player and you've got the best game play designer, give me that over the best team. No question in my mind. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy were wizards in the second half. The coaching staff of the Eagles are better game managers. They are. They know what works for them. 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, we're going to quarterback sneak, we're going to quarterback sneak. But we got 15. The Chiefs have 15. And they put an absolute clown suit on the Eagle defense. That vaunted Eagle defense. We're going to have to check the stats here. Dan, I know, Brennan, you're stat guys. The Eagles had 9,543 sacks in the regular season. It was a record. They had 0 in this game. They had 0. They hadn't seen an offense like the Chiefs. And in the second half, the Kansas City Chiefs found their rhythm, and Andy Reid made the adjustments, and the defense held up. I said to myself, all right, how many points is going to take to win this game? The Eagles will score 10. I thought the Eagles would score 10, a field goal and a touchdown. That would get them to 34. You got to get 21. Can you get 3 touchdowns in the second half? Chiefs got 3 touchdowns and the last second field goal. That was a clinic by the best player in the league and the best play designer. He ain't the best game manager because we saw what happened in the first half. That clearly was botched. But there ain't nobody better when you've got number 15 and you've got number Big Red. Travis Kelce is terrific. And the Chiefs defense did just enough in this one.
Dan, going back to the end of the half when Patrick Mahomes goes a little gimpy on that ankle that he got rolled up on.
A little gimpy.
Yeah, a little gimpy. He looked like he was in a massive amount of pain on the sideline. He looked like he was in more pain than we initially injured the ankle a couple weeks back. But he comes out, he looks no worse for wear in the second half for whatever reason. And then he says on the podium after he was named MVP of Super Bowl 57, I told you all this week, there's nothing that would keep me off that football field. He looked like a man on the mission. And while 182 yards is not exactly the most Mahomesian performance of all time, I don't think there was any question about him getting the MVP for this game. The way he was able to orchestrate a couple of impressive scoring drives in the second half, the command with which he controlled that Chiefs team during the second half, that was a no doubt legacy performance. And you and I had talked so much over this past week about when you get that second ring, when you get that second championship, you have reached the pantheon where you are untouchable. There is no, well, he only won one, or well, it was a fluke, or well, this, or well, that. You are in the untouchable sphere, and Patrick Mahomes putting that all together with another Super Bowl MVP performance, that will go down as that signature moment of above all others, that is the moment when Patrick Mahomes entered the true pantheon of the all-time greats.
Down 10, hobbling off the field for halftime. The vibes could not have been worse for the Chiefs. They had only really been in the game thanks to Jalen Hurts forgetting how to grip the football there for one play and a perfect bounce for Nick Bolton on the scoop and score. If not for that play, that game looks very different at the halftime, and it might have been a bit of a bridge too far for the Chiefs to come back. But they were within 10, and we all know the absolutely mind-blowing stat about Patrick Mahomes having a winning record in games in which he trails by double digits. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. How is that real? How are we talking about a real guy? But Mahomes comes out of the locker room, and he looked good right away. You could tell that, maybe he was more scared in that moment than he was actually hurt. That can happen sometimes. He came out. He looked good. He looked sharp. And in the second half, all he does is go 13 of 14, just one pass hit the ground, 13 of 14 for 93 yards. 2 touchdowns, and boy, howdy, those were brilliantly schemed plays for the touchdown. Andy Reid deep in his bag in the entire second half, and the Chiefs found a mismatch, and the Chiefs exploited it to get those 2 touchdowns. And when the Chiefs got the ball back, 5 minutes left, I don't know that anybody could have doubted that the Chiefs would find their way down the field to score. And not only do they make it happen, Mahomes makes it happen with his legs. Mahomes sprinting down the middle of the field for that big scramble. He hit it with 51 rushing yards on a high ankle sprain in the Super Bowl. Leads the game-winning drive. Harrison Butker had missed one earlier. He made the one he had to have. And now, Mahomes is certified. The list of quarterbacks with 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowl rings, only 4 deep. It's Joe Montana, it's Tom Brady, it's Peyton Manning, and it's Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes now is in a position at 27 years old. The legacy he's chasing now is Brady. There's only one quarterback, maybe ever, who's going to have a chance to win like Brady won. Tom Brady broke the curve. He ruined it for everybody. It's going to be so hard to get to 10 Super Bowls as a quarterback, never mind win 7 of them things. He broke the curve. But that is what Mahomes has a chance to pursue the rest of his career. All the other stuff is just details. His all-time status as one of the very best that we have ever seen, that is confirmed, that is certified. His place on quarterbacking Mount Rushmore, confirmed, certified, inarguable. I don't care if you hate him. I don't care if you hate the Chiefs. He's there. He belongs. He's certified. He's undeniable. He's Patrick Mahomes. You've never seen anything like him before.
No, there really hasn't been anything like him before. And there's never been a team like this to the degree that they've got the best play designer in the NFL in Andy Reid. They've got the best tight end of all time on this roster. They've got one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL on this roster. They've got maybe someday the best quarterback of all time on this roster. And never before in NFL history, I don't care if it was the Tom Brady peak Belichick era Patriots, no one ever thinks, well, down 10, we've got this in the bag. That's just not a realistic point to bring up with any team in history. You might think, well, we're still in this, but there's no other team, no other fan base where you can point to so many instances where we were behind, we were struggling, but we've still got this and we still have trust we can win, like you can feel with this Kansas City Chiefs team. And the fact that, Jake, you pointed this out at halftime. You said, well, if there's any one saving grace about this, you put this on Twitter, this team has a winning record under Patrick Mahomes at quarterback and Andy Reid at head coach when they're down by 10 plus points. That's really the only saving grace after what was a very sloppy, ugly first half. And they did it because they were cool, calm, collected. They have the guy at quarterback. They've got the guy as their playmaker, and they've got the guy as their head coach. And all those things coming together means this is a Super Bowl winning championship team. A couple other parts of this game, Jake, that I want to go to you first for. And we're going to talk, obviously, so much about Patrick Mahomes, his offense, legacies, all of that coming up on Mic'd Up and 580 Sports Talk Monday from noon to 3 and 3 to 6, respectively. And, of course, over the entire duration of this next week. But a couple of elements we haven't talked about a ton yet, and you mentioned this a little bit earlier. This game, we talked about so much going into it. Not just we as the Sports on 580 crew, but from a national perspective. We had Matt Verderame from Fansided on our shows talking about this. We heard it from the talking heads on TV. I know Louis Riddick of ESPN said this on Saturday night. This game was going to come down to the matchup in the trenches for these two teams. The Eagles, they got some pressure, not the kind of pressure they had gotten all year. All those millions, hundreds, or at the very least dozens of sacks they had over the course of the year in the playoffs. They didn't get home on Patrick Mahomes. On a bad ankle, they weren't able to get home on Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs' offensive line stepped up. And while Jalen Hurts ran the ball pretty well, I got to be honest, Jake, I think the Chiefs' defensive line had a very solid game as well, even though they just got one sack.
The Chiefs' offensive line dominated more than the Eagles' offensive line, and that's saying something because they ran 85 quarterback sneaks and converted every one of them. And the Chiefs didn't get a whole lot of pressure in this game, but you knew they weren't. That wasn't like that wasn't a big secret, like everybody knew the advantage for the Chiefs was, or the advantage for the Eagles was on both sides. I mean, there are people talking about this is, the best offensive line in the NFL. They are. I don't think a lot of people are disagreeing with that. And the Chiefs, I don't think they did well, but they held at times. This is we were hearing all of this about the pass rush and how's Mahomes going to do it, and are they going to have to chip? Newsflash: Jet McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco didn't do a whole lot of chipping in this one. Andrew Wiley, standing ovation. Orlando Brown, I'm going to have to eat a lot of words on this one because I have been very vocal on not paying Orlando Brown. If they want to, he kept Mahomes clean. You're going to get some pressure. Mahomes, smart as he does inside the pocket, stepped up. But, we always talk about X factors. And is it the secondary? Is it going to be a guy like Nick Bolton? Is it going to be, the Tonys and the Sky Moores? I think the X factor was the Chiefs' O-line. I don't think anybody thought that they would handle the line of scrimmage like they did in this game because of the opposing side. The Chiefs' defensive line didn't get a ton of pressure, but they did force some throws. And hat tip to Jalen Hurts. I also eat a little crow there. I didn't think he'd be able to throw the ball as well as he did. Man, he put the ball in some stupid places, and they made some excellent catches. I mean, Dallas Goedert made some great plays. Devonta Smith, by the way, that was a catch in my opinion. I thought that he put the ball in some terrific spots, but it's the Chiefs' offensive line who kept Mahomes clean enough, open up enough. And it goes back, Dan, you talked about he won it with his legs. Eagles played man. They said, we got the front four. We can get it there. Yeah, you play man against a mobile quarterback. Look what happens. He might not be, Jalen Hurts, or he's not Justin Fields, but that was the game-deciding play, is that Chiefs offensive line. I can't give them – Andy Heck deserves a ton of credit. All the big fellas up front, they were the X factor in this game.
And the offensive line is who Andy Reid immediately gave credit to when talking both to Tom Rinaldi right after the game on the field on the Fox broadcast, and then said the same thing to Terry Bradshaw, as Bradshaw was in the middle of really bad jokes and one-liners the entire time on the podium. But that's what Andy Reid said to both parties, is that it comes down to the offensive line, it comes down to Patrick Mahomes, and Eric Bieniemy had a great game out there too. Those are the three things he said in both of those interviews, and all three of those played a massive role, obviously, in this win for the Chiefs. I'll go to you next, Dan, though, and what is the most underrated part of this win for the Chiefs? And we would love to hear from you as well, again, on the 580 WIBW Sports on 580 WIBW YouTube account, as well as on the WIBW News Facebook account. Let us know what you thought the most underrated part of this win was for the Kansas City Chiefs. First things first, if you say officiating, go touch grass. Shut up about it. That's loser stuff. It has nothing to do with officiating. Juju is held. Flimsy hold, but it was a hold nonetheless. Please shut up. So, Dan, for a real answer, because I know you weren't going to say that in the first place, what was the most underrated part, or what is the part we haven't gotten to yet that you think most contributed to this Chiefs win?
There's a lot of guys that deserve their flowers. Certainly, Jake laid out the offensive line. The tackles, I thought, were both terrific. Orlando Brown, congratulations. Hang that diploma from Easy Money University, pal, because you've earned it. That's Easy Money University right there. Big congratulations to him. He was super, and he's going to earn himself a payday with that one. Andrew Wiley, like you said, was great. Rest of that front really held up nice. I would say, though, that the one thing that happened in the second half that really wasn't happening in the first half, Chiefs had that great opening drive, and then Mahomes, I think it was 4 of 9 on all the drives after the first half that led to halftime. The Eagles kind of threw a stick in the bicycle spokes a little bit of the Chiefs passing game first half. And what needed to happen is some viable targets had to step up in the second half. Juju, big second half for Juju. He was immense in that second half. Sky Moore, first career touchdown. Kadarius Toney, he only played 5 in the first half. I thought he was hurt. Honest to God, I didn't even expect to see him on the field in the second half. I thought he was hurt. catches a touchdown, and then, of course, there's a punt return that will live in Chiefs lore. The longest punt return, I believe, in the history of the Super Bowl. Pretty neat memory to make and pretty neat record to have your name on. Not bad for a mid-season trade acquisition. They needed to have guys step up in the receiving game, get open so that the quick passing game could work, so that Mahomes could get the ball out quick against that man coverage, against that pass rush, and continue to mitigate its effects in the second half. And that's what he did. And those pass catchers, Juju in particular, massive in the second half, I thought, deserves a great deal of credit. One other guy we got to mention, too, I think on the defensive side, it wasn't a flawless A-plus night. And maybe it looks better because he was the beneficiary of the bounce on the scoop and score. I thought Nick Bolton played a whale of a game. You know who else played a really good game of linebacker? Leo Chanel was noticeable. He played more than I think I've seen him play all year. He was getting downhill. He was hitting hard. He was a big part of the reason why the Chiefs were effective against the non-Hurts portion of the Philadelphia running game. So, again, and what are we talking about? Chanel, rookie. Sky Moore, rookie. Great time for his first touchdown catch as an NFL player. God, it's remarkable that these young guys played with such poise and such intelligence and such passion in this game. It's a testament to the culture, and it's a testament to what's being built and what has been built here in Kansas City.
I know the players play, obviously, and those are the guys that deserve credit for this win. Even though they're not the ones to get their hands on the Lombardi Trophy first, those are the guys who get the credit for the win. But I do think we'd be remiss. You know, I said we'll talk over the course of the week about legacies and looking at the future and the dynasty talk and all of that. But you got to give a lot of props to Brett Veach for this team that was on the field tonight. And every general manager or group of general managers puts together a roster, right? Like somebody has to draft these guys. Somebody has to make the acquisitions. But look at the fingerprints directly from this general manager that are all over this roster. Going out and getting Orlando Brown. And in the biggest moment of his career, he stepped up and played well. Really, that entire offensive line. Go back to 2 Super Bowls ago, Super Bowl 55, which was a disaster for the Kansas City Chiefs. They said, we have an issue with the offensive line. We need to make sure this never happens again. They end up in the Super Bowl 2 years later against one of the best defensive lines in NFL history, sack-wise or otherwise, and they hold them to 0 sacks. That is a masterclass by that general manager, a mix of guys they drafted like Humphrey and like Smith, a guy they traded for in Brown. They added a piece like Joe Thuney that effectively rendered your right tackle like, hey, you can throw anyone at right tackle. You can throw Dan at right tackle, and you're going to be fine with the offensive line that Brett Veach was able to build. Look at the pass catchers they added. That was the big question mark going into the year, right? Hell, they talked about it on the broadcast that everyone thought all year, what are they going to do without Tyreek Hill? Well, you add another deep threat in MVS. You didn't do anything in this game, but he was a factor this entire season. He was a huge factor in the AFC Championship game. Juju Smith-Schuster, as you mentioned, he was huge in this contest. Sky Moore, draft pick, nowhere to be found all game long, has one jet sweep, and then ends up with a touchdown on a perfectly designed play. Kadarius Toney was a mid-season, one of those low-risk, high-reward kind of acquisitions that we know Brett Veach for. It pays off in a huge way. He deserves a ton of credit, obviously, for putting this team together because his fingerprints are on every single piece of this team. Going back to the very beginning during the pregame show where they were sharing the story Peter Schrager was from Fox and NFL Network that, hey, the loudest voice in the room to pound on the table for Patrick Mahomes before the 2017 draft, it was Brett Veach when he wasn't even the GM at that point. It was still John Dorsey at that point, at least for a couple more months. So just very impressive the way he was able to build this team in short order when it looked like it could have been a rebuild. These pieces they've added. Carlos Dunlap is another one. He was celebrating. He was on the podium at the end of the game. Just a tremendous job by Brett Veach to put this whole thing together. Jake, we'll go to you for a final thought on this Super Bowl. Looking ahead, looking back, whatever it is, what is going to stand out about this game in particular? This group already had the one ring. They already had the one from Super Bowl 54, a great comeback in that one. Do we have time to run Wasp? All of that. That was the first, hopefully of many, but the first of at least a couple. This one felt different, though. This one felt like a true clash of the Titans. This wasn't the Chiefs on the ascent. This was the Chiefs already at the top of the mountain. So what is going to be the flashpoint in your memory of this game? What is going to stand out the most in retrospect about Super Bowl 57 and the Kansas City Chiefs win?
It's that we have Patrick Mahomes. Like, don't make it out to be, rocket science. That's what you need to realize. You have the best player in the NFL, and it's not even close. And you want to know what's funny is that people still won't look at it like this. Tell me, guys, what was the predictions for Fox Sports analysts before the game? Who did they pick to win?
Every single one of them picked the Eagles.
Every one of them did.
And Terry Bradshaw, to his credit, knew that was trouble.
But he picked them to that's like, oh crap, this is what we're doing. But you got guys who are these are the most, they're supposed to be the smartest guys out there. The smartest. You got Hall of Famers and Terry Bradshaw and Michael Strahan, and they're supposed to be brilliant. And I understand picking games is difficult. I understand that. We all know that. But you're trying to tell me that the 10 of them didn't say to themselves, I'm going to go with the best player in the league. None of them thought that. None of them. And if this game doesn't put that into perspective, we talk about this a lot. Most of the time in any sport, and I'm talking middle school, I'm talking high school, I'm talking college, and I'm talking NFL. If you got the best player on the court, bet them to win. That is the rule. They had the best player. He went 13 of 14 in the second half, and the one incompletion was a throwaway. Look at what Patrick Mahomes has done. You ready for this? This is Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs this year. This year in the playoffs. 3 games. 72 of 100. That's 72%. 703 passing yards. 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he did it with an ankle that was not an ankle. I mean, it's hanging there. Don't overthink it, everybody. And Brendan, I'll point to you. You had the Eagles winning all the way up until, I want to say, Friday. And you said
Wednesday, I think. I think Wednesday was the day we talked about Mahomes, and I flipped my pick because I thought, hold on, this team's got 15.
Come on, guys. Let's make this thing real, okay? Like, he's the Jordan. He's the Gretzky. Like, that's what I will look at it in this. And, I can't get over that. Like, that is what will cement it in this. And Chiefs fans now, we've had scar tissue. Tyler Palco, Mountain Lightning, Dr. Thunder, Joe Montana. You had really good, like Alex Smith. Yay, Alex Smith, really good player. You don't win Super Bowls with Alex Smiths. I'm sorry, that just doesn't happen. You need to have the guy. They got the guy in his rookie year, they won a title. They got the guy in his 5th year, they won a title. Like, it is all about Patrick Mahomes. Don't make too much of it. It's really, really simple. Just be happy that you have 50.
Think we momentarily lost Jake, but I do think we got the overall gist of what Jake's point was. So, Dan, we'll go to you next, and we've got Jake back now. He's back from freezing on the stream. Jake, welcome back. I think, though, we did get the point about one team had Patrick Mahomes and one team didn't, and it's time to appreciate that. So
it is. It really is. And I want to mention, I had to switch hoodies at the break. I said, I got to switch something up. I changed my hat. I went with the happiest moment that I had in my sports career with the World Series. And even my wife came and she goes, why are you wearing a Royals hoodie? I got to switch it up. I got to do something. So I feel like I did my thing for the kingdom.
Hey, I changed my socks at halftime of last year's national championship game when KU was down 15. They come back and win. So you are not going to get any criticism from me because it's only crazy if it doesn't work.
One more thing. They traded a top 3 wide receiver and they won the Super Bowl. And everyone was picking the Eagles. Like, hey, I hope everybody hopped on that plus 190 at the half for the Chiefs to win. I definitely didn't.
Dan, let's go to you next. Same question for you. What is going to be the landmark memory of this Super Bowl win for the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think Jake nailed it. I think it's just, as long as the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, they can win a Super Bowl every year. They can win a championship every single year. You nailed it. He is Michael Jordan. Bomani Jones of ESPN and HBO has been on that for a long time. He's been calling him Jordan since last year, since the AFC Championship game last year when they lost to the Bengals. And he pointed out on his HBO talk show, he says, look, I don't know why they keep trying to deny that this guy is Jordan, but maybe he's going to have to do what Jordan did, win the championship every year. Maybe he will, because this was not a season. I know, athletes love to put the chip on their shoulder. And very clearly the Chiefs had a chip on their shoulder here down the stretch. And there were some people who maybe did not believe in them. Certainly they weren't the popular pick in the AFC Championship game. They weren't the public pick. And they were not the public pick. In fact, they were the underdogs in this Super Bowl. But look, there's only but so much of an underdog you can ever be when it's that guy taking the snaps and it's that guy making throws and it's that guy moving around in and out of the pocket. As long as the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, they can win a Super Bowl every year. I know Joe Burrow got the credit for saying this. Mahomes maybe a little too humble to say it in the short term, but the window for the Chiefs is every year they got 15. And now he's chasing Brady. He's chasing that landmark. He could win like we've never seen a quarterback win before. He could really do it. He's 27. He's getting better. This team is kind of young around him. Like, that defense could be better next year. What are you going to do with a defense that might be top 10 in the league next year to go with Patrick Mahomes? Like, what do you do with that? Good luck, AFC. Good luck, Sean Payton. Good luck, Josh McDaniels. Good luck, Brandon Staley. Good luck, Joe Burrow. Good luck to the rest of them. Because, look, 15's around, they're the top dogs, and they stay the Kings. And hoist the Lombardi Trophy again. What a moment. Chiefs fans, don't take it for granted. Very happy for all of you.
One quick note before I get to my final thought here. I'd love to bring up this tweet from Trey Wingo from Pro Football Network, among other places. Patrick Mahomes is now 14-10 when his team falls behind by 10 or more points. 14-10. That's 14 wins in 24 games, 7 of every 12. No other quarterback has a winning percentage better than 37% since 1950. I don't know about your guys' math skills, but that was 73 years ago. That is an outrageous stat. And it's, in fairness, it is not just Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid is a part of that. The players around, some defensive key plays are incorporated in that too. But Patrick Mahomes has a winning percentage 14 out of 24 times they've fallen behind by 10 plus points. Also, in 5 years, to only go down by 10 points that many times is kind of crazy and another indication of just how great this franchise has become. But that is a truly stupid statistic. But the final thing that comes to my mind, guys, this is a really good Eagles team. Like, this was the number one team in the NFC, if not the entire NFL, the entire year. They had the second team All-Pro, second in the MVP running quarterback in Jalen Hurts. They had superstars at receiver, a burgeoning one in Devontae Smith and a guy who's already there in A.J. Brown. They had the best offensive line in football, a record-setting defensive line with plenty of talent scattered among their linebackers and secondary as well. This was a really damn good team with a great kicker, by the way, too, and Jake Elliott. Shout out to Lions Township High School. But this Chiefs team still mounted the comeback in the second half. They still came away with the championship and showed off that championship pedigree that even though they haven't won one since the 2019 season, the Super Bowl game that was played in 2020, they still have that championship desire, that fire, that pedigree, and they showed it in this game tonight. They are deserving Super Bowl champions. Patrick Mahomes is deserving of being put in the pantheon, the Mount Rushmore, whatever you want to call it, of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And again, 2 rings makes you untouchable. That goes for Andy Reid, that goes for Patrick Mahomes, and that goes for this era of the Kansas City Chiefs too. There will never be they had that one fluke in the 2019 season, but they never quite got over the hill again. Yeah, Andy Reid did that, but look at all these other big game losses. That's gone. That is washed away. That is over. That is never coming back. This game signifies that. And this wasn't, the Lakers beating the 76ers back in the early part of the 21st century, right? That was one of the worst teams in the Philadelphia 76ers to ever play for an NBA Finals. This was the best team in the NFC and the first or second best team in the entire NFL, and the Chiefs still made history against them. If you're a Chiefs fan, never lose sight of that, and never lose sight of the fact that you might have the greatest quarterback of all time on your team as well, or at the very, absolute, very least, he's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And that is why the Kansas City Chiefs are Super Bowl champions for the second time in 4 years. We will again be talking all about this Super Bowl victory for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes' legacy, the unsung heroes, what happens next, Andy Reid's future and Andy Reid's greatness, all coming up over the next few days on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW. You can check out Jake along with Fulton Caster on Mic'd Up from noon to 3 Monday and every weekday, and then myself and Dan as well on 580 Sports Talk from 3 until 6 on 580 WIBW, as well as live on YouTube. Sports on 580 WIBW is the channel. We will talk to you coming up on Monday afternoon. So until then, for the overjoyed Jake Lebahn, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dzwierzynski. This has been your Chiefs Instant Reaction Show. We'll see you